Hey there, it's SebFrey here with yet another exciting episode of It's a Seb Show. And what do I have on tap for you today, dear viewer? Well, buckle up, settle back. It's going to be a big one. Yep, I'm going to talk about functional obsolescence. Functional obsolescence. Now, what is that you're saying? Well, I'm glad you asked. Listen, functional obsolescence is something that comes up for me all the time because where I serve, the market that I work in, there's lots of older homes, right? There are not a lot of newer homes. There are some newer homes, but those homes are older. They were built in the, say, 1950s, 1960s, and even the 1970s, 80s, 90s, whatever. Point is that the housing stock, generally speaking, is pretty old. And when you compare an old home to a new home, you'll see there is oftentimes quite a few differences. So functional obsolescence has to do with the desirability or value of a piece of real estate based on some of the features that the home has or that it lacks. So for example, these older homes, a lot of them might only have one bathroom. Who wants a home with one bathroom? Not that many people want that, right? So that's going to affect the value and desirability of that property if it only has one bathroom. So we would say that a home is functionally obsolete if it has just one bathroom. Now also you may notice that homes built in like the 1920s or 1930s or even the 40s, 50s, and even up to the 60s and 70s, you'll often note that the closets are very small, very tiny, itty bitty closets. You wonder, gee, what do these people wear back then? Compared to, today, closets would be much, much bigger, including some walk-in closets that are really suites of closets, really. So a home which has very small closets, today we would consider that to be a functionally obsolete home. Another example might be a home with a one-car garage in an area where most houses have 2 or 3-car garages. You could call that functionally obsolete. Another good example is like a chopped up floor plan, right? So a lot of times, homes these days will have these big open spaces, these great rooms, and people seem to like that quite a bit. A lot of times in these older homes, you'll have these really chopped up spaces. I'm not sure why they did it that way, for heat or something. I'm not quite sure what the whole point of that was. Or like galley kitchens, are really kind of functionally obsolete nowadays. They're just sort of tucked away in the back of the house, and now people want, big kitchens where everyone can sort of gather around. So these are examples of functional obsolescence. So when you're looking at like a home, you could have a home that is a 3-2 versus another home that is 3-2, but they could be years apart in terms of how obsolete one is compared to the other. And how do you take into account that functional obsolescence when you are trying to figure out how much your home is worth compared to these other homes? Well, I'll tell you how. You really can't compare it to these other homes which are not functionally obsolete. If you have one of these obsolete homes, you need to compare it to other obsolete homes which have sold in your neighborhood. And if you can't find sales in your neighborhood, you want to go out and look at other nearby neighborhoods which buyers would also consider, and then adjust for how much better or worse your neighborhood is compared to those neighborhoods where you did find those functionally obsolete homes. And this is actually pretty important. It's not just some arcane weird thing, right? I mean, like, it really speaks to the utility of the property and how much buyers are going to desire it, how much they're going to like being in that space. So very important to consider the functional obsolescence that your home may have when you go to put that home up for sale on the market. All right, well, I hope you really enjoyed learning about functional obsolescence. I've had it on my list of things to talk about for, a very long time now. So I just wanted to get that out to you and share it with you because it might come up, especially if you have one of these older homes. All right, well, that is it for this episode of It's a Seb Show. Hey, would you do me a huge favor? Would you give me a like? Would you give me a thumbs up? Would you give me a comment? That would be super awesome. Or even, oh man, a share. If you were to share this, that would be terrific. I would really love that. All right, that is it for this episode of It's a Seb Show. Thanks so much for watching. And I will, of course, have another episode up again before too long.